The injury bug bites the Nittany Lions in Iowa City. 5-1 at the midway point, the bye week comes at a perfect time. We look for a Penn State connection everywhere we go, and we find it during the flyover of Kinnick Stadium. Why the lead pilot is representing the blue and white.
I was getting these handwritten letters from Tom Bradley about becoming a Penn State Nittany Lion. My dream was going to come true.
He's been waiting to find out why he didn't end up in Happy Valley. A former NFL punter and now a powerful presence in the modern sports media world, Pittsburgh native Pat McAfee explains why punting is winning in the Impact interview. It's time for Nittany Game Week. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nittany Game Week. I'm Todd Sadowski alongside Jay Paterno and Tom Bradley. Thanks for joining us. No game, no problem. Still have plenty to share with you this week, including some thoughts on the Iowa setback, juiced up crowd, injury to the starting quarterback, and other key personnel. Look, you guys understand all too well, it doesn't always go the way you hope.
No, and when you do, it comes down to adjustments that we're going to talk about. Iowa made some, Penn State not so much.
Yeah, it really gets to be an interesting chess match as you go back and forth. Penn State had every opportunity, still up 20-10 to win that game.
Yeah, the defense was out there. They did a great job, but down the stretch, they were outscored. We meet the loss to the Hawkeyes head on and offer some big picture perspective in our opening drive. So let's take a look at the first half against the Hawkeyes. Penn State's defense in control of Spencer Petras and company. Jay? Iowa makes the adjustment in the second half.
No question, and they made some adjustments as to how they went after them. They got away from the four-man pressures, got to the five-man pressures, and that's how Clifford ultimately got hurt, was on a five-man pressure, and they got to him.
And they saved this play until they got a no-blitz look, and at the right time. And, Tom, they got the no-blitz look, and they took advantage of it.
Yeah, they sure did, and it's one of the things that they waited to the precise time. They held it. Sometimes that's hard to do as a coach. You're holding and waiting for the right time. It never comes, but in this case it did.
Absolutely. Sophomore linebacker Curtis Jacobs was asked about the go-ahead touchdown from Iowa.
Yeah, they made a great play. That's a great team. Shout out to them. I wish them nothing but luck as they go on, but they made a great play, and after the play, I'm just thinking next play we got to figure out how we're going to win this.
So what all of this means is really just that Iowa scored more points than Penn State in this game. Doesn't necessarily mean they're a better team. Hawkeyes have an easier path to the Big Ten championship, and it would be nice to see a rematch in Indianapolis.
Obviously, a lot of things have to happen, but the next thing to discuss, Tom, is the running game. It's already a tough situation with the injury to Clifford, a hostile crowd, an effective rushing attack. They would have taken a lot of pressure off the backup.
Well, that's one of the things when you're going with a backup quarterback. If you can get a good run game going and get those pass plays, shorter, don't put them in that long yardage situation, it can make a huge difference. And if you're going to not have Clifford, you better get that run game going either the way you've been doing it, or you better get into some different Wildcats type stuff to get that going.
All right, so now let's pull back at the halfway point, right, for some big picture perspective. 5-1 record, in contention for the Big Ten East berth, for the Big Ten East title, a berth in the Big Ten championship possible, and if they are able to run the table with this schedule, even college football playoff. A bye week also comes at a perfect time.
Hey, we're grateful. Opportunity for guys to get healthy, relax, for us to, get back and watch more film, and just prepare for our next opponent.
With the bye week, we figured we'd squeeze in a pair of viewer questions, Jay.
Okay, can you talk about preparing a backup quarterback to play? Since Penn State's backup came and was not quite ready to play, so who's that fall? I think really what you got to look at is when you get in that situation, you got to have a little different package for a guy who hasn't played as much. When they had the problem with the fumble and then the offside, the false starts, the Iowa crowd got into it. So you got to lean on your running game. Your defense has to do some things, but you got to get that guy ready.
Yeah, the false start's problematic. No matter what situation, you got to be able to handle crowd noise. You got to be able to get that cadence going.
Yeah, that's one of the important things about being the backup. But one of the important points here, like Jay said, you got to condense that package. What is he comfortable with right now in his progression where he is at Penn State?
All right, second question from Paul in California. The pass rush seems to have fallen off this year. Should we be concerned about that? What can be done about it?
Tom, you're the defensive
guy.
You take this one.
I'll take this one.
Hot potato. We're tossing it to
it's an
you.
interesting thing because you like to get through with 4, and I always say if you can do it with 3 even, that's heaven, But in this case, the pass rush hasn't been there. Their stats are way down. They've got to figure a way to get there, and if not going to get there with 4, they got to start coming up with some fire zone blitzes to get those 5 guys, and that is important for the second half of this season with who they're going to be playing. They better get a pass rush.
Yeah, they're going to put some time into that after the break. Let's get to the scrap metal. All right, so Tom, we like Jaquan Brisker in this one. You go with the senior in the secondary.
Yeah, it's great. He had a heck of a good game. He had 7 tackles, tackle for loss, interception, and got to know a little bit about him. He's a Pittsburgh guy from Gateway High School, so I've kind of followed him in high school too. So congratulations to you on winning the award. You know what though? It never feels good when you lose to get an award.
No, well, he's partial to those Pittsburgh guys, that's for sure.
That's the first one I picked this year. Come on.
Well, in true scrap metal fashion, Brisker will be there to help lead the team into the second half.
We're just going to get better. The bad week's coming up. Everybody's going to get well rested and things like that. And we're going to move forward after this. We're not going to, after this day, we're going to move forward and we're going to be a better Penn State team.
Just what you want to hear from a senior leader. No panic, lots of focus. Tough second half coming up for the 7th-ranked Nittany Lions. As for our scouting report, we call it our coming attractions. It's movie-themed as we touch on some of the plot lines for the 6 games still left to play. Nittany Game Week returns after this.
Tom Bradley Scrap Metal is sponsored by Team DUI, creating a safer and healthier environment for everyone in the Commonwealth. Scouting Report is sponsored by Penn State Health, giving you the care you want, where you want it. Visit PennStateHealth.org to find a provider near you.
We're back on the Nittany Game Week. We understand it's a bye week for the players, light workload. You better believe the coaching staff is on the clock for some long days. It's not in their nature to take time away, especially coming off a loss. Same situation with our experts, Coach Paterno and Coach Bradley, hard at work as they do the old look ahead to the second half opponents.
Thanks, Todd. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a coming attraction. So let's take a look at what's coming in the second half, Tom, because when you look at the schedule that remains, there are not 2, but 3 top 10 teams in the second half. And these teams are different in the front. Let's talk about flipping the script as we go. Tom, talk about what you see here when we flip the script.
Yeah, I think the first half, what you saw was the offensive rank wasn't as good who they were playing, but great defense. The second half totally flipped around. Now you're going to see all the big offenses, and if you take Illinois out of that second half equation, guess what? It's a whole different game. Even then, it's even tougher.
So let's take a look at some of these guys. Let's start with the first one, Illinois. Take a look at what we got on them and their coming attraction. They have 3 guys over 50 yards per game rushing. Take a look at some of the things, which is a lot. Take a look at some of the things they do. Just give you a little feel for them. This is Epstein. They're one of their 3 running backs. And no, it's not Epstein from Welcome Back, Kotter, and he doesn't have a note from his mother. So he's a pretty good running back. You take a look at him from the end zone, he's got some good speed. But again, that's their second, third guy coming off the bench. They got 3 guys that can play. We move on to next week, a game everybody's talking about, Tom, Ohio State. Look at these numbers. If you were defensive coordinator, would you be on a bridge right now?
They're pretty close. But I'd be looking at it long. I mean, those are some great numbers they're putting up, and it's at the shoe.
Yeah, and watch some of the speed. I mean, it's 8.4 yards per play. They've got great wideouts. Here's a running back getting in the act. I mean, everybody's getting their hands on the ball. Everybody's getting involved in it. And they're very, very, very creative with what they do.
Average per play is off the charts.
Yeah, 8.4 is, second and 1.6 on every down. Then obviously after that, they go to Maryland. Do not underestimate this one, Tom, right?
No, especially being played down at Maryland. Maryland can score points. It's the problem they've had with their defense. But offensively, they're tough.
Yeah, and the losses, they've turned the ball over. So take a look at a little bit of what they do here. Just to give you an idea, here's against Ohio State. Just a sprint out. Their quarterback is mobile. He can run and does some things down the field with the pass. He's an accurate passer. They've got some speed at the skill positions. Now, you come off Maryland, you think, okay, well, we've gone through a pretty tough stretch. And then here come the Wolverines. Wolverines are back to the future. Look at those rushing yards, Tom.
It's pound, pound, pound.
And they've got 2 really good backs, more so than they've had recently. And their stout defense is back, too, one of the top defenses in the country. But they've got backs that can really hurt you if they get loose.
You're always talking offense. Let's talk defense, okay? Here, they got some really They're getting better on defense, too.
Yeah, their defensive end, Hutchison's a guy that everybody better handle, and he's going to be a problem for us with the pass rush, as well as just along the line in the run game. Now, once you get that, you figure, okay, we got Rutgers coming in. Rutgers has improved. In their 3 wins, they've gotten 8 turnovers and 3 losses. They've only gotten 2, so turnover is going to be key in this one.
Absolutely. That's what anything for Rutgers. They want those turnovers. They can win the turnover battle. They have a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And their quarterback has played pretty well. He's made some plays for them. And they've just got to be more consistent offensively to really have a chance against Penn State. And now the team that I think might be the scariest, Michigan State. They've got 3 big-time wideouts. They've got a big-time quarterback, and they got a big-time tailback who leads the country in rushing.
And they have the game at home on the banks of the Old Red Cedar, which is not an easy place to play.
And take a look at these guys with their hands on the ball. I mean, you got a quarterback that is throwing to wideouts who are beating people, and not only that, yards after the catch. And then you got a running back who at 152 yards per game was out rushing 6 Big Ten teams, not just running backs teams.
And as you know, that is a tough place to play in late November.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So these are the things coming up. That's what you got to look for. And Todd, we're going to send you back over and talk about maybe a Top Gun or something that you know over there.
I do. Thanks, guys. I should have brought my popcorn and Raisinets for this week's scouting report. The coming attractions, extra butter, of course, on the popcorn, not the Raisinets. They are without flaw. Now, before the Iowa game, awesome flyover by the United States Air Force. And, of course, we found a Penn State connection. Here they come. 4 jets over Kinnick Stadium in formation. The lead pilot, Kevin Tremaglini from Penn State. He grew up in Pittsburgh. He has to infiltrate enemy territory to complete this task, but it's all good. An exciting assignment no matter where it takes place. Definitely extra special for Kevin to perform the flyover before a Nittany Lions kickoff.
Amazing, man. I've been wanting to do this my whole life. I remember being like 10 years old, seeing flyovers at Beaver Stadium, and it meant everything to me to get to do it myself for hopefully some kids out there.
Oh, and here's the best part. Check out Kevin opens up the suit to reveal the Penn State T-shirt, representing as he performs the flyover in Iowa City. Time to step aside for a moment. When we come back, our impact interview. His bio says he stopped punting footballs so he can entertain folks. Well, he entertains all of us on Nittany Game Week. After the break, Pat McAfee. We're back on Nittany Game Week. I like to think of this guy as a modern media man, and more importantly, he's a Pennsylvania guy. This is how our guest describes himself. He quit punting footballs in the NFL so he can entertain folks. This week's guest is Plum High School graduate Pat McAfee. And Pat, thanks for joining us. This is our impact interview, okay? So last week, Penn State plays at Iowa. Their punter, Tory Taylor, dropping punts inside the 5 like Phil Mickelson's short game in his prime. Iowa fans chanting MVP, wearing shirts that say, punting is winning. How do you react when a punter is the hero?
Thank you so much for having me. And obviously, I am honored to be associated with something Penn State. Guys obviously chose not to have me coming out of high school.
I knew you were going to start with that right off the get-go. But go ahead.
I was getting these handwritten letters from Tom Bradley about becoming a Penn State Nittany Lion. My dream was going to come true, and then obviously you guys went with Kevin Kelly, who I have a lot of respect for, but it is an honor to be here. Thank you guys for having me. Tory Taylor is a superstar, but I think what you see out of the Tory Taylor experience in Iowa, punting is winning and people loving it, is a smart football base. I think Iowa knows that they're going to have to win games of complementary football. They're going to have to win with field position. Their defense is a greedy one. They're going to get the ball. The offense is okay, but they can do. But field position and that defense eating, and what Tory Taylor is able to do every single game is beautiful. And let's not get it twisted. Blake Gillikin, Penn State punter, what he just did for the Saints this past weekend, punting is winning. And I think anybody with a high football IQ knows that, especially if you have a great defense like Iowa has. It was a real shame to see you guys lose that game, but it was awesome to see the Aussie get chanted out there, obviously.
So, Pat, in college, you did all 3, punting, field goals, and kickoffs in college, like Penn State's Jordan Stout is doing this year and doing very well. How hard is that in terms of technique and the mental side in that preparation?
You know, it's fascinating because you don't really see anybody in the NFL do it successfully, because at the NFL level, you have to be elite at a craft. And it's not easy to be elite at 2 different swings. It's 2 very different swings. And I think it's like a baseball swing versus a golf swing. You know, they kind of both involve the arms and rotation and everything, but it's just two different styles. And punting and kicking is very much like that. And kicking off is also very different. So I think what Stout's able to accomplish alongside a couple others in the college game doing all three is incredibly cool, because there for a while after I graduated, they had specialists. They would have somebody who kicks short field goals, somebody who kicks long field goals, somebody that kicks off, somebody that punts pooches, somebody that punts the long ball. And I just think whenever you do that, you kind of get into the groove of some athletic people whenever they might need to find a rhythm. And if Stout's anything like I am, I felt like coming out of college, whenever I would just go to punting, I felt like I wasn't able to get in the rhythm of a game. And with how young he is, with how talented he is, leg talent he is, I'm sure he's just as fine as I was when I was that age. When he gets older, it'll probably catch up with him a little bit. But I think whenever you have that responsibility of having to do all three, you're both on the defensive side of the ball, the offensive side of the ball, and you're kicking off. That's a massive amount of respect and honor that the team has bestowed upon you. And getting an opportunity to do that is something sweet. And I'm sure Stout is enjoying the hell out of that.
Hey, Pat, you and I have a lot of the same friends, okay, Western Pennsylvania. And everyone knows that Friday nights in that place is special. So I want to take you back to perhaps the most famous play of your career. Among the folklore of WPAL football, there's a play you made on a botched hold against Fox Chapel that resulted in a 2-point conversion. Coach Bill Romito said, "This is our immaculate reception. If there's room at the Pittsburgh airport, Pat should get a statue next to Franco Harris and George Washington." Can you take us through that play?
I'll tell you what, Coach. I thought as soon as I pulled that off that the offers would just start rolling. You know,
I saw it on film.
Yeah, so I think might have been my first game ever, actually. And, you know, I grew up in Pittsburgh, and football is just a way of life. So although I played soccer growing up, and I had, and this is no exaggeration, I think I had like 50 times the amount of schools looking at me for soccer than I did for football. Because, you know, Bill Romito, you know, Plum, we weren't like a powerhouse football-wise. We weren't just creating D1, but our soccer team was good. And I had focused my entire life on soccer. My dad had remortgaged the house like 5 times so I could travel around and play soccer. I went to Europe a bunch of times to play soccer in high school. I really thought that was going to be my path to success, hopefully in the future. And I don't want to say we kind of leveraged against it, but we kind of did. And when I started kicking balls, and the first time I kicked, I think was at the Penn State kicking camp. That was the first time I really ever went to a kicking camp or did anything kicking, because that was before I even started my career on the high school football team, which was my junior year, when Romito just said, "Hey, just show up on Fridays. Don't need you to practice. Just show up on Fridays." So I was fully focused on soccer. But growing up in Pittsburgh, everybody played football. I was the all-time quarterback in my neighborhood because I could throw it from one telephone pole to the other telephone pole at the youngest age. I knew how to tackle people. I knew how to run with the ball. I was pretty well versed and a fan of football, but although I focused on soccer. So I think that was the first game, and the long snapper sends it over the holder on the extra point. I think it goes back to like maybe the 20, the 30. I don't remember it exactly. To be honest, until you just mentioned it, I completely forgot this even happened. I grabbed it, and it was just backyard football. It was awesome. I swung somebody off. I ran. I got in the end zone, 2-point. Then I had to kick off. And then on the bus ride back, I got to ride the bus back, even though I got dropped off in a car because I came from a soccer game that particular night. I got to ride the bus back team. And I was talking to Romito. I was like, just give me the ball. Like, can we get the ball? Can I get the ball a little bit more? Like, can we run some fakes? And he was scared to death to get me hurt because of the soccer dreams and aspirations. But I do love the fact that you left no stone unturned and you watched that play.
Well, yeah, but you zigzag through. You zigzag through a lot of different people to make that score. You're not making as well great a play as it was, because it was a heck of a play you made. You showed some great athleticism on that play.
I mean, I appreciate that. That means a lot. I don't really remember it. I wish we had film of it. I think somebody had film of it at one point. But yeah, I just felt good because, I don't know, I'm a big team guy. You know, like, I'm a big team guy. So I enjoy, no matter what I'm a part of, I enjoy us winning.
All right, Pat, hang with us for a minute. We're going to step aside for the TV show to take a break. We're going to continue this interview, though, with Pat. So if you want to see the entire conversation with one of the best personalities in the sports world, make sure you go to NittanyGameWeek.com for the entire interview, along with other web-exclusive content. All right, speaking of sharing on social media, when we come back, of course, we're going to show you some Penn State pride picks and share some of the submissions we've already received. We're heading into the final minutes on Nittany Game Week. Welcome back, and who knew footballs actually make really good stew? What you do is you peel off the outside, simmer it in a crock pot. Okay, actually, that last statement is a crock. Jay, tell us about your pigskin stew, which you've been perfecting for quite some time now, and almost spilled on these orange pants, which we haven't discussed yet, that your wardrobe stylist took the bye week. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, it is hunting season.
Yes.
And it's Saturday, not a lot of big games. So, but the pigskin stew just came out of me kicking around the kitchen. Here you go, Todd, with a lot of different recipes. And the recipe is on our Nittany Game Week website. So get on the Nittany Game Week website and click on the NGW Eats tab, and you will find the story behind this. You will find the recipe and the explanation, because every ingredient ties into something historically. There is bourbon in here. There is Coke in here. Oh, yeah, there is.
Who's going to drive home?
No, not that much bourbon. But that's what we got. So,
yeah. And we've got our bowls, spoons, our Joe Stone Crab House bibs from the 2005 FedEx Orange Bowl. And for those that believe soup can be a meal, this is a stew, and it will fill you up.
There are 3 pounds of meat in this.
Gotta love it. All right, so let's go to the things to remember about Penn State's first half.
No question. I think the rushing yards we've talked about, they've got to do a better job. 95th in the country. Third downs are a problem. One of the great things they've done, they have not lost a fumble through 6 games. That's a pretty dang impressive stat.
That's a very impressive stat right there, and that's what's keeping them going. They're not fumbling the football, and they know they've got to get better at running that football.
All right, well, don't miss our depth chart at NittanyGameWeek.com, which includes these local businesses. Our goal is to build a team in the community that supports the show and that you, in turn, support as a viewer to keep the hometown strong. Make sure you're getting the full Nittany Game Week experience, not just a TV show. More content lives on the web. Long-form interviews and recipes are for sure. Didn't feel like a bye week, guys. Good work, fellas, especially in the kitchen, Jay. We finished with some pride picks. Make sure to show us your spirit. Submit your PSU pictures. For Jay, Tom, I'm Todd. This is Pigskin Stew. Thanks for watching Nittany Game Week.